Hi, Brian. Hi, Natalie. I'm just waiting for Allie.
Woo!
Hi.
Hello.
Hello. What's going on?
Hold on. I figure out my headphones.
That's all right. Maybe back up just a little bit because of where the bottom half of your face is
Hold
cut
on.
off. The top half of my face is cut off. The bottom half of your face is cut off. There we go.
Is that better?
Much, much.
I'm short, so
Hi.
you know that.
Yeah, I'm sitting on the couch with like sweatpants and a pillow on my lap. Just an FYI. I did put makeup on for you though. Hi, Charlie. What's going on? Look at the shaved face. Wait, come back with the mohawk.
What?
Show her your mohawk.
It's kind of grown
It
in.
needs some
It's kind of grown in.
touching up my barbing skills.
We'll have to definitely do that. A little
He'll
bit of
clean it
touch
up
up. You
for
did a
your.
great job, though.
Hi, Janet.
So, hi, Janet. Bye, Janet. We love you.
Hold on. Let me try to. Whoops. I'm new to this shit with this tripod. Like I'm so used to doing Zoom on my laptop, and I'm like, shit,
Yeah,
do like Instagrams on the laptop. There we go.
there you are.
All right, we're good. We're
Beautiful.
good. Sorry, everybody. Hi, Brian.
Like, we're like, hello.
Tim is on here. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's great because you can see who's
So,
coming up on the bottom, which is pretty nice and fun.
mhm.
So, you want to get it? Should we get into it?
Yeah, let's just get
Nice.
into it.
The lashes are great. The
You like them?
so for those of you who are on with us, you know that we're doing some men's health topics this week. And my very good friend Allie Gilbert, whose wedding I was supposed to be the maid of honor in on Saturday. And you guys met
Last
Janet
Saturday.
and last Saturday. You guys met Janet and Megan last week. We're just like continuing on the wedding party. Um, Allie is a men's hormone expert. She is one of Golf Digest's two times
Yes.
top 50 golf fitness experts, and she has kindly agreed to come on with us to share her knowledge about men's health, specifically men's hormonal health. So she is here to answer questions and to talk about testosterone, stress management, what we can be doing right now from a male perspective to help your hormonal health while we're all stuck at home. Um, answer your question about boners, any sex topics you want to talk about. There's literally nothing off limits here. Expect this to get maybe slightly racy, um, hopefully. So, Allie, you have a very confused look on your face.
No, I think it's delayed. I was like, just a
Ugh.
little bit racy.
Yeah, just a little bit racy.
Bye,
So,
Janet.
if you could if you could talk to us a little bit about your clientele, your expertise, what you do more specifically, that would be delightful.
Yeah, because like I know you mentioned golf fitness, so everyone's like, wait, so you
Yes.
do golf fitness, but then like men's health, and I'm not a doctor. I just play one on Facebook. I always tell everybody that. So I can't write you scripts because I'll get like a DM like, okay, I'm interested in testosterone. Can you send me a script? No, it doesn't work that
Hmm.
way. However, I can point you in the direction of who can. So
Hmm.
um, I work with men, I say over 40, because that's my demographic in person, but all my remote and local, sorry, all my remote clients who I do nutrition and fitness with are primarily guys between in their 20s to, in their 60s. And basically I help them navigate their personal health because men don't go to the doctor unless something's extremely wrong and they
Hmm.
don't really want to deal with it. Whereas we're the women who are kind of like pushing them to go to the doctor and get shit checked out. So if they're having boner issues, that's usually when they'll like, okay, yeah, kind of have to go to the doctor. So they'd rather like set their arm on fire than step foot in the doctor's office. So they kind of ignore a lot of these health things. And so it's good to understand when a man may be dealing with low testosterone, how to talk to their doctor about low testosterone
Hmm.
and the misconceptions and the myths that are out there, and just basically how to kind of understand what they're trying to talk about when they do talk to any medical practitioner and what is true, what is fake, all that stuff. So.
And one of the things I think is really great that I know that you do with your clientele is you not only are directing them to where they can get testosterone from, but you help people with a lot of like dietary lifestyle modifications and things to help naturally boost testosterone as well, which I think is really smart because a lot of people want the drugs and they want the quick fix, but they don't want to address all the underlying issues that they may have gotten them there.
Big time. Yeah. So a lot of guys think like, oh, if I just go on testosterone, like my life will be much better. And granted, yeah, your life will probably be better, but it's just like anything, you know, like a little caffeine will work for a while and then it won't. Eating less will work for a while and then it won't. So like stuff has to happen in order for that to be effective long term. So what does that mean? Basically, if you're overweight, you can automatically increase your test levels by dropping body fat. So men have,
Why
who have
is
a lot
that
of body
specifically?
fat because in body fat tissue is the most inflammatory tissue. So high inflammation and high fat carries an enzyme that hangs out in the body fat that takes testosterone, converts it to estrogen. So men with a lot of adipose tissue, fat tissue, have a lot of estrogen hanging around. So automatically that's going to kind of, you know, make things uneven. And then exercising and eating right. So if you take testosterone, in order for it to work effectively, you still have to eat, I guess what everyone says clean, we know is, you know, matching what your goals are, exercising, getting movement in, weightlifting is fantastic, you know, minimizing alcohol, all the, you know, positive lifestyle effects, and sleep. Sleep is a big one. You can automatically just tank your testosterone if you get 5 hours of sleep or less. They've done studies on this numerous times with guys. So those are all extremely important.
And something with like kind of circling back to the exercise, you know, one of the things I know also that you're a big proponent of is daily walking. So can we talk a little bit about weightlifting versus walking and kind of like what specific exercises and kind of rest times, like rest cycles that you recommend for people?
That's a good question. Good question, host. So if I had to tell anyone, all right, what are the things that anybody basically can do to optimize their hormonal levels? Number one would be sleep. Number two would be nutrition, and that's different for everybody. Number three would be picking up heavy things up to maybe 4 times a week. Nobody really needs to train more than that unless you're headed for an event or going on stage or something. And then getting in a lot of walking, because walking is a natural reset for us. And what happens is a lot of people are coming to me and other fitness professionals too, overdoing the high intensity like they're doing something, but just as important as getting that work in is recovering to recover from that. And so a lot of people are doing too much of the circuit stuff, not actually building that foundation muscle they need to carry them well into their 40s, 50s, 60s. So being able to implement strength training where you're lifting things down and walking is going to be the smartest pairing. And then if you have a need for some stuff, maybe once or twice a week, it doesn't have to be every day. And then walking, because we're supposed to walk, it does not increase hunger hormones. So if anybody who has done excessive cardio, I think we all have, if totally makes you hungry, rampant hunger can occur, especially if your calories are low. Walking actually lowers stress hormones. It lowers cortisol. So it is a stress reliever, and you can just do it ad infinitum and it won't have a negative effect on your hormones and stuff. So it's very important.
And that's what you
Oh,
mean by the
and
hormonal reset.
one thing. Yes. There's a study that said it was like about 7,200 steps in your weight, but also to bones. So too much right now, too much
Okay.
sitting. And a Peloton, that's about it. And so you can do a lot with nothing.
Yeah.
So what you do when you have lower weight, you can make them harder by increasing the eccentric portion of a lift. So say you're doing a squat. When you lower yourself down, maybe instead of taking 2 seconds, you're taking 5. And that
Sure.
automatically increases the amount of time that your body is under tension. So it doesn't know the difference between super heavy weight versus holding it under tension. I mean, it does, but and getting them to focus on meal timing and keeping a normal sleep wake cycle, because a lot of people are kind of thrown off routine wise. And I'm not saying get 2 a days in. I'm not saying try to do all these higher intensity things. I'm actually doing the opposite of what a lot in the fitness industry are doing right now. So instead of high intensity workouts, so many of my people are so hyper stressed that will add stress to the body. I'm like, listen, let's get in like 3 workouts where you're lifting things and it's probably going to be a little bit slower. And then we'll get a little bit, of a burn. And then I want you to walk every single day. It's non-negotiable, because if you track your steps, then you'll realize you're not taking as many. But if you don't track your steps, then you start tracking them, you realize you're probably under 5,000 a day, because we're not getting up to go to the bathroom down the hall, or if you have a desk, or where you take the stairs at work, you're not doing any of that. So people don't realize the amount they're moving less, and now they have more screen time is actually making them more tired. So they're less wanting to walk around and do stuff. So I'm really trying to get them to nail those habits versus think about how many times they work out. That's like the last thing that I really want them to do. I'd rather them walk, because they can maintain their muscle mass. They're not going to lose all their muscles. It takes a long time, and you can actually maintain the muscle mass you've got on half the weight and half the stimulus until the gym's open again.
Sure. We have a
Brian
question.
says, am I
Can you
better
see
off
it?
binge watching TV? Yeah. Standing so I don't get hungry from sitting. You can try it.
You can like march in place and binge watch TV.
Yeah, I mean, just order a treadmill online. Why not?
There you go. So with the stress and like with our current stress levels, and you said that you have a lot of people who are hyper stressed and like, I had to go get a night guard on Monday because I've been grinding so much. Like, yeah, special. Back to like high school days. What else are you recommending to people for stress reduction?
Routine. So being out of routine is probably the number one stressor. So get up at the same time every day if you can. Go to bed at a normal time between 9 and 11, and then keep that routine. Try to get outside, even if it's for 5 minutes in the morning, because staying indoors, especially on the East Coast where it's still 39 degrees, staying indoors all day is not allowing natural vitamin D to get into our body, which is really the only way the body can formulate the active form, and not helping to maintain that sleep wake cycle. I tell them not to stress about getting workouts in. If they can't get them in, there's a lot we can do without that. So a lot of my guys have noticed eating at home has made a big difference, because you're not cooking with foreign oils and there's not all this added gunk and fat that they'd have eating out at the restaurants. And then identifying if they're hungry because they're actually hungry, or if they're hungry because they're bored. which is a big one.
Sure.
So that, and then just controlling what you can. And,
Mm-hmm.
and, you know, I understand it's a stressful time for everybody, but if you literally cannot control something happening, you're better off putting that energy towards something else. So
sure, redirect.
yeah, like, I mean, I had to remove my wedding 3 times. It's like, cool.
So
You know?
sorry.
No, it's fine. Like I said, I did a podcast earlier, and I said, listen, so many brides wish they could say, like, you know, I wish I did this and this and this. And I'm like, yo, I get another year to plan everything again. So, and it better be fucking good now because we have so much time. But I see it as a positive thing. So,
Like you said, it's gonna be one hell of a party.
right. It will
So,
be. Yes. Yes.
Brian has another real question. So, blood work, nutrition. How do we find the right nutrition for us as individuals?
Blood testing is not necessary for finding out the right nutrition. So when you say the right nutrition, I'm guessing you mean fat loss, because that's what most people want, or just like general muscle building, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The answer is you have to find that out for yourself. So everybody is unique metabolically. Some people work really well on higher carb. Some people work atrocious on high carbs. So mm-hmm. It's kind of spending the time to understand what you feel best on. The only time blood work would be helpful is if you test for like the Alzheimer gene, which is the APOE 44 or 34 genetic mutation, which does not allow the body to process saturated fat or very high fat. That would be a disaster for somebody doing a ketogenic diet or a super high fat diet. Other than that, there's really no need to do blood testing. If you're referring to like food allergy testing, a lot of people ask me about that. Complete waste of money. So this is what happens when you go. They take your blood, then they test it and pretend it's all this special stuff, and then they give you like a billion list of foods, and then you'll come up, you know, reactive to like romaine lettuce and chicken or whatever. And basically the stuff that you eat every day, you'll be allergic to. And once you eat all those foods, then you'll no longer be allergic to them. So that's where the body will develop an immune response. And yes, it's good to rotate your foods and your proteins. But trust me, I've done these tests where I did like 3 of the same one with 3 different names, sent them out, got 3 different results. And literally I did nothing but sit there and just fill out 3 different names. So you're going to end up doing the same thing you would if you did that test, spent $900 or more, and they tell you to do an elimination diet. So I wouldn't waste your money with that. So otherwise, just figure out what works best for you, what you enjoy eating. There's nothing that you have to eat. There's no amount of times during the day that you have to eat. You can eat once, you can eat 6 times, you can eat 12. Doesn't really matter as long as you get the amount of calories that you're supposed to get in for you.
And you and I, we both employ nutritionists, you know, and like we're in the medical field, but we both have people that we work with ourselves. And that's something that I know that you're a proponent of, is basically to get a coach for your nutrition and somebody who's going to work with you and help you to navigate that. Oh, in terms of kind of
investment.
Yeah, it's a really great investment because that way you have somebody to help you navigate this stuff. What do you think about blood work in terms of supplementation? Necessary, not necessary?
The problem with blood work is it's a snapshot in time, but it does give you some understanding of where you are and where things are in your body. So supplementation, I think, is a little bit overrated if somebody is like, I just want to like be optimal. The things that people really need are like a fish oil if you don't eat a lot of fish, a really good multivitamin, and, you know, maybe some vitamin D, probably some magnesium. Anything outside of that is usually if you've got some gut issues or severe sleep issues or whatever. But it used to be, and it still is with some naturopaths, like they'll test you for everything. You'll spend thousands. And then they'll be like, oh, you're deficient in this and this and this and this. Take this, take this, take this, take this. And then it's like you take this ad infinitum and then you're like, when do I stop? Oh, well, we need to retest you. Come in. It's another $3,000.
Sure.
So and I know this because I know people I worked with. I also owned a company that charged so much for lab work that I decided I had to leave that company because I was like, nobody should spend that amount on lab work. So that's very popular for them to do. So it's very hard to feel anything from a supplement. I was telling someone the other day, the only ones that you'll actually feel really are the sleep ones because they'll help calm you down. And we deplete so much magnesium during the day anyway. So if we take that, we can help replete. Other than that, you really don't need a lot. So much of it is marketing. I mean, just walk into any supplement shop and it's just like overwhelming the amount of things there. So
Yeah. And the role of magnesium, like let's like talk about that because that's a big one with hormonal health. And a lot of people think that they probably have enough magnesium from the foods we eat. But one of the things that we know is that our soil is so depleted that the foods that should be magnesium rich aren't as much as they used to be. But can you talk a little bit about like why we need magnesium specifically for sleep, stress management, and hormone health?
Yeah. So magnesium is one of the most depleted nutrients, mostly through stress. And when I say stress, that could be exercise, it could be physical, mental, emotional, anything. So I usually tell, and there's different forms of magnesium. So magnesium citrate is the one a lot of people will say like, oh, that gives me the shits. Okay, well, yeah, that'll cause diarrhea. That's what they give you in bowel prep. Like, yeah, maybe lay off that. Magnesium glycinate is the most bioavailable, most absorbed, highly. I give people like a powder form from Taste Good, but it's not carbonated. The calcium magnesium pairing that they sell in supplement stores, that could aggravate some people's guts. So usually if you take it at night, it kind of helps calm you down. And anyone can take from like, 250 milligrams upwards of like 800 to 900. It really depends how deficient somebody is. And again, sometimes that can cause some loose stools, but it's not the same as like mag citrate. So I just tell people until bowel tolerance, usually it's probably double the serving size on what the supplement label says. So that's a big one. And somebody who's really smart realized that zinc and vitamin B6 were also very depleted nutrients. So they created ZMA, which is a supplement that people take for sleep, which also helps people sleep and can give you really weird dreams too. But it makes it kind of exciting.
Interesting.
So yes, it can be interesting. Yeah. So I would definitely take a good magnesium powder, something that does not have a lot of additives in it at all, because that's going to be more beneficial. But you really don't need to load up on a lot of supplements. I love going to Vitamin Shop and messing with those guys about the men's health supplements. I'm like, okay, dude, yeah.
Like we won't talk about your supplement store in LA. So.
Oh yes. See, when they're like borderline illegal, then it makes it interesting.
Oh my God.
There's a supplement store in LA. Like if you guys ever go, if we're ever allowed to travel again, called LA Nutrition. But they have like pre-workouts from like the 90s and fat burners from the 90s. I just go in and I just stare at everything. Granted, some of the formulas like Jacked and all that stuff are completely different. But some of that stuff, I ask them, like, how do you get this on the shelf? How are you allowed? And they make shakes there and they're really fun to like talk to. And I just love walking through supplement stores. I'm so weird. I'm so weird.
Like your favorite LA shopping is the supplement store.
Yeah. I went there literally every day. Hi,
that's like
I'm the weirdo in the bachelorette party who wants protein shake at the bar.
So supplement.
You broke
any
up.
of the oh sorry. Do any of these like testosterone boosting supplements actually work?
No, they don't.
That's what I was wanting you to say.
No, none of them work. Don't waste your money. A lot of people think they work because they have increased libido, but that is completely different from an actual increase in testosterone. So if you are highly deficient in things like, zinc, magnesium, boron, then maybe you'll get like a transient elevation, but it's nothing like if you're to actually use testosterone replacement to get to that level. No supplement, no nothing. Very hard naturally to get to levels that are considered optimal these days.
So with that is something that you do need blood work for. And that's something I know you work with physicians to then work with blood work and doing testosterone replacement therapies. Let's talk about that, because I know a lot of people are really interested in that topic.
About what testosterone? You broke up again.
Oh, sorry, there was a delay. Can we talk a little bit about blood work and testosterone replacement therapy?
Yeah. So now is actually a great time to get hold of a physician to do a telemedicine consult, because the laws have been a little more lenient now, as you know, because you're a healthcare practitioner. It used to be you would have to see somebody in person one time and then they'd be able to prescribe. But now you could actually get prescriptions over telemedicine if it makes sense over on the consult. So people ask me all the time, like, oh, do you know a doctor in like Idaho or Wisconsin or here in California? Like, I know some doctors, some places, but the ones that I know do really good work and that I trust are not necessarily local ones to me, but they are kind of everywhere spread out. And sometimes it's worth flying to see this person. And like I said, now you don't have to. But one thing for people to consider when you get your labs done, don't go to a GP, go to somebody who specializes in hormone replacement, because this is what will happen. They will either tell you, you don't need to get these labs done, because I've heard everything from you're too young, it's not necessary, you look like you're in shape, there's nothing I can do about it. It's more either the insurance will charge more money to the office to get that done, or they don't know how to manage the results when it comes back low, because it's more than likely going to come back low. So finding somebody who specializes in this and be willing to pay out of pocket. Don't worry about insurance. Insurance is going to cover nothing, because insurance is for sick care. It is not for optimization. Your insurance company does not care that you are low T, and the range for low T has been lowered. I think we're going on 3 times in the past 30 years, which is really the only lab marker to be lowered that much. So it makes it even harder for, if you're like 31 years old and your testosterone's 270, you're going to be in range. Over 500 is usually where men feel the best. Over 500 is where you should be at 31 years old, or any age really. But so you can see where I'm going with this is that that's an average. The range starting at like 200 something and ending at now it's like 900, where that's the average of all men in America. Overweight, sick, like doesn't matter. So you're being grouped into those people. You don't want to be average. You want to be optimal. So getting you in the optimal range is going to require a physician who has most of their practice under hormone replacement. It's not somebody who's like, oh yeah, we could try this and this and this. And you want to go the route of injections. You do not want to go the route of pellets or certain creams. Some of them are okay, but it depends again on the pharmacy they use, or gels or anything. So they've created these alternative delivery methods to make money off of them, because you cannot patent a hormone. So if you use a pellet, which is like $800 just to implant something the size of a Tic Tac in your butt, sounds cool because it's non-invasive, right? Because it's only once every 6 months. But the problem is if they implant, you know, Jeff Smith over here with the same amount as they implant, you know, Mark Smith over here, they may metabolize it differently. You may feel absolutely awful, and somebody else may feel a way to change the dosage is by going back in and implanting another one.
Sure.
So,
and
there's a lot behind it. So,
right. And with that being said, like I see people come in with those pellets fairly routinely, and one of the things I see clinically with the pellets, just like for sake of like bringing this up, is people actually start developing pain around the implantation site and almost like a ball of scar tissue. So someone will come in and be like, I've got this like knot in my butt. And I'm like, well, what's in here? Because you'll see like a teeny tiny little like incision mark. And they're like, oh, it's my testosterone pellet. I'm like, so they'll have a tissue reaction around it. And so that's something that clinically I hate when I see those come in, because like a lot of times it like acts as like an irritant or even like a new pain source for people.
Oh yeah. I mean, to be able to implant the pellets, it's like a 2-day course. It's like you go to CrossFit for 2 days, you're able to open a gym. These guys take a 2-day course that allows them to implant pellets, and they could be any type of doctor. So it's kind of like you go to Mexico for Botox, like, it doesn't matter who it is. So they implant it, and they don't have to be, they could be any type of doctor's office. It can be anybody. So it's not necessarily a plastic surgeon or a surgeon implanting that into your butt. So they're just hard to regulate and everything. Same with women, it can cause some of the same problems because you can't control the dosage, and it's all about controlling the dosage initially. So the protocol should be different for every single man because every single man is metabolically different. So some guys are on 150 to 200 milligrams of test a week, but some split it up in 2 days, some split it up in 4, some do every day. It's really whatever works best for that guy, but being able to understand that and talk to their doctor about it, because a lot of the times it's either what we were talking about before, where the doctor doesn't want to do it, or they're going to say it's bad, it causes cancer, it causes a heart attack, and all of that research has been upended. So,
and that's, I think, really important to know, is that you need to have somebody that you can continue to work with routinely to manage this and help you to optimize this for your own self, versus somebody who like gives you the drugs, you go home, and like now you have no follow-up care.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's understanding like the reactions, and I mean, the side effects initially are water retention, which is normal. You may break out a little bit, and you may, just feel different, but that's your body getting used to it and adjusting to the dosage. So it all goes away within a while, and then you adjust to it, but you got to start somewhere. So I've had, I know doctors that their patients have freaked out about the weight gain, and then they put them on very strong diuretics and anti-estrogens, which is really not what you want to do, because they're panicking and they don't know what to do.
There was a question a little bit back of somebody who said that they're at 313 and they were wondering if they could get up to 500 naturally without supplementation.
Very impossible question to answer, but I'm going to say no. So that's over a 200-point jump. I've seen it happen in the 100, 120 point, but again, it depends. What are you doing right now? Like, if you've automatically just nailed every lifestyle aspect in your life, that you're doing all the right things, you're going to have slim chances. But if you have a horrible diet, you're very, lazy, not in the gym or anything, and,
drinking too much, not sleeping.
Right. All that stuff. So, it's more, don't search for a lab number, treat. And I say tweak your dosage, or think about how you feel. If you're at 400 and you feel amazing, there's no reason to shoot for 500. But if you're at 700 and you've got, symptoms of low T, then maybe we should check stuff out. And then there's a lot that goes into that. It's not just the total T, it's the free T, it's the sex hormone binding globulin, it's all the other markers, the inflammation and all that stuff that go into it. So.
There's a question that happened to you, and I'm sorry, I lost it. It was something about electrolytes and water. Did you happen to see that?
Oh yeah, Brian. Is it good to add electrolytes? I do. So I love Gatorade Zero. I just ordered about 6 cases because they had it from a delivery company. So I put a noon tab usually in my Gatorade just to add to it, but I always am drinking that. All different types of electrolytes that I rotate, because I do think that is helpful, especially if you're in a climate that is very hot, or if it's dry air and hot and you just are not used to that. But I think people walk around more dehydrated than they realize every day.
There's one. Have you used Element yet?
I have not.
That's my current favorite. And it's like, I sweat super salty. I'm like one of those people who craves salt all the time. And this one's pretty high sodium, but it's spelled LMNT. And I've been liking this in the last few months because it's kind of decreased my salt cravings a lot, instead of like feeling like I want to like literally put salt in my mouth. This has been helpful. But like I said, I sweat super salty to begin with, but that one's been nice for me. Oh, talking about going back to testosterone, let's talk about what symptoms you may be experiencing if you're low in testosterone. So if someone's at home going like, I don't know if I'm low, is this something that I need to like search out a practitioner? What would be some really common symptoms that you might experience?
Very high anxiety with
Okay.
no resolution, depression, being lethargic, fat storage when you didn't really notice it before, you know, moodiness, I would guess, inability to put on any muscle mass, inability to lose any body fat. Just men, testosterone is like a driving hormone for guys. It's like victory hormone. They lose that drive, and they'll know what I'm talking about by this, where they lack the motivation to kind of win, if that makes sense.
Sure.
And that means with anything, whether it's they got the right parking spot or, you know, they nailed the PR at the gym, that vigor kind of decreases. And that can also include a decrease in frequency of morning erections and a decrease in the stiffness of erections and the endurance of their erection. So they always think like low T means erectile issues, and it's not the case all the time. So erectile issues can be through blood flow issues, biochemistry issues, or issues with the brain, and issues meaning like stress. So an example I bring up is, say any of you guys have a deadline and you're working on your computer and you're extremely frustrated because it's due in 20 minutes. You have to get this done. The computer keeps shutting down, blah, blah, blah. And then your partner walks naked in front of you, sits on your lap, and starts nuzzling you. It's very hard for a man to transition that quickly into, I am stressed the fuck out, to, yeah, let's go have sex. Because in order to achieve erection, you have to be like, you know,
have
not fight or
mindset
flight.
to do it.
It's got to be rest and digest. It's got to be parasympathetic nervous system. So ejaculation is sympathetic, and that's like fight or flight. So if a guy is stressed and in that mode of all day, it's going to lower the frequency of erections and cause them to not happen as often as they used to. And some guys do not get morning wood every day, because I've had guys say like, well, I never got it, or it's not a thing that I have. And I'm like, that's normal too. Not everybody has it all the time. So that's just something to consider, that there can be a correlation there, but that does not always mean correlation is causation.
But that would be one of the things if you like, did.
What's that?
I was going to say, but if you had, like, for somebody who are used to having, you know, probably a sign that something had changed. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if you're like usually waking up rock hard, boom, I can go. And then all of a sudden hard for like a minute and then it goes away, or you try to have sex and then it goes away, that could just usually in the back of their mind, it's something stressing them out that they may not even realize.
Sure. So talking about sex, like what are things that you talk about with your men about sex, like intercourse having to do with hormones, masturbation? Do you guys have conversations about these things, and like do you ever make recommendations for either of those things?
Some of them I do, yeah. It's not like the first day I'm not like, hey, I'm Allie, how's your boner, what's up?
Are you
usually
sure?
They know what they're getting into though. They usually know. So a lot of the time, and especially now, like in quarantine, I'm like, all right, everybody should be like, you know, get it going and everything. Like let's get on this. So masturbation's a good one. So with quarantine has come the increase in porn, and also with that, if you're quarantined alone, you may have increased your frequency of masturbation. So depending on how often that is, you can actually lower your testosterone levels by masturbating too much or watching too much porn. Because what happens is that you're not having sex with a partner, and your body knows the difference between self masturbation and then when you're with somebody. So when you're watching porn and you have all these expectations of like dopamine hit, like, oh, this is the pleasure center, that also comes with a rush of it, all the stress hormones and everything. And if that's happening all day long, then that can increase cortisol, which is a very high stress hormone that most people know. cortisol automatically opposes testosterone. So then in essence, it can lower it. And what it can do for guys in general is porn can ruin sex for them because they feel very similar to how anyone would feel looking at these Instagram models that like they're not enough. They need to take anabolic steroids. They need to change their body. They feel very insecure, or they expect sex to be like porn where they're like, oh, no one has hair anywhere on their body. They all have massive appendages. And, oh, I just get the woman naked and she screams and then she's able to orgasm. That's it. I just pump and done. Woo! You know, and obviously we know that's not the deal. So more also.
Yes.
But that's another thing. But there are a lot of studies that actually correlate watching porn and how it has negative effects on guys too.
That is fascinating. What about if you have a partner at home? So more sex better. More sex better, like kind of keep it as is. Like what does that do for your testosterone when you're having sex with a partner versus watching porn?
So with or without a partner, I should say, the penis needs exercise just like the body does. So you have to, you know, unclog the pipes and like keep it going and make sure everything works properly and take it through those actions. Because there have been studies too that show if a man refrains from ejaculation for about 6 days, testosterone levels do go up. Doesn't necessarily mean that they stay there. And I don't think anyone really wants to stay there without ejaculating for a very long time, because that's also not very healthy. Because again, blood flow and, you know, everything flowing through that area is going to be extremely important to their health. So with a partner, I think obviously people have said like, what's too much sex? Like, I don't know the answer to that. I'm not going to do a study on myself on that anytime soon. Like, you know, I'm sure people who've had orgies know the answer to that. I think it's really whatever you can kind of do with your partner. But obviously, I think people are being a little bit more free in their expression with the use of toys and the use of different types of things that they're allowing in the bedroom because of quarantine, and exploring with their partner and communicating with their partner. And the things that they've realized is that it's not as mechanical as maybe they had thought it was initially, that they're able to connect on deeper levels and do stuff that they never thought that they would do. So,
sure.
And this I've talked to with guys, so it's not just like my opinion.
Yeah. And that's something I think is really important too, because something you had asked me is like, you know, you get these guys that they get their libido up and they're wanting to more sex, and maybe their partners their libido isn't matching. And one of the things that, you know, I think is interesting is that how much just simple communication with a female partner specifically can really help people to kind of get the other partner kind of up to the same level versus kind of having this mismatch in terms of like desire. And that's couple, right? But a lot of people, it's like they need that communication to really kind of get like a lubrication going and really kind of get that going, especially for us women who are a little bit more maybe chatty than guys are.
Yeah.
So
there's a great book. Guys could read it too. What?
Oh, I think there's just a delay. You're coming with me because my phone is low battery.
Oh. So there's a great book by Emily Nagoski. It's called Come As You Are. And it basically talks about how men and women work differently sexually. So like men, they get an erection. Usually that means like they're ready to have sex and they're pretty horny. When women get going, it's not like, boom, like we're wet. Like we just come with like lubrication. Woohoo. Like it takes a while. Women take a little bit more, not coaxing, but like, you know, maybe it's foreplay or maybe it's just stroking or whips or whatever you're into. Like it could really be whatever. But again, that's where I think the porn industry, you know, everyone fast forward through the beginning when it's the story of like, you know, oh, it's my volleyball coach and I just happened to be at his house with like half my boobs showing and no shorts. Hi. And it's like a super awkward story. Anyway, so that's a good book because I think then that will help people understand men and women, how they differ sexually. And then it's just like communication in general, which I think a lot of people will be struggling with for future dating when we come out of this quarantine, because it was an issue initially or before this, and it will continue to be, where people just don't ask enough questions, or they just maybe don't know how to be vulnerable or be transparent in a way that allows people to truly understand who they are, or admit that they don't have all the answers or anything. And it really is just like, what do you like?
Yeah. And
What do you
there
want?
are and there are coaches for that too. So
Mm-hmm.
like for couples that maybe really have no idea how to start that conversation, there are people who that's what they specialize in. You have people who are legitimately sex therapists that help individuals figure out what they need and want, because sometimes people don't even know what they need, and then being able to communicate that with a partner. And I think that can be incredibly valuable for people who might not be able to do that.
100%. And it's understanding why you feel that way.
I think
a conversation I had with a guy on a podcast was, he realized what he was using sex for when he was younger, and then he realized how he could create a different, deeper connection as he got older, because he was able to understand himself. And like you said, sometimes people don't always understand themselves or what they want, or they're afraid to say what they want for fear of something that was traumatic in their life.
Sure.
So,
oh,
it's deep. That's what she said.
This is all super fantastic. And I don't know if anyone has any other questions for Allie while we're on with her, but
Lay it on me.
yeah, bringing your questions up. No,
Nothing is TMI.
no, not at all. So
No.
while we're waiting to see if anyone has any questions, where can people find you after this?
I can filter this. This is awesome.
Ooh.
Here on Instagram is probably where I post most of my content, because I have a little bigger audience on here. Or if you want to look at my website and do some coaching with me, ali-gilbert.com. That's my website.
That's fantastic. And this is something, I had talked with a couple of people about this last week, and I think this is really important, that you and I have shared clients and we literally live on opposite coasts. And that's something that I think is one of the positive upsides to this whole situation we have right now, is that I think that people are a little bit more open to the idea of virtual consultations right now. And like you said, there's some more leniency too. And if people don't know this, a lot of insurance companies and whatnot did not allow for, or like a lot of licensure stuff didn't allow for virtual consultations before now. But because of the current situation, this is all eased up a lot. And so that's allowing Allie to take more virtual clients. It's allowing myself to take more virtual patients. And something to kind of be open-minded to now and in the future is that you can work with a practitioner who doesn't live where you live. So for Allie and I, she and I communicate all the time, but you can absolutely work with her and not live anywhere near where she lives. And I would highly encourage you, if you're anybody who's struggling with low testosterone or struggling with, issues with your body or libido, have a chat with her and at least have a consultation. And if she isn't the right person for you, I know she'll guide you in the right place, but she's, in my opinion, the best person for the job. So if you have issues, reach out to her, please.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
Honestly, all my consults are on Skype, because that face-to-face
Mm-hmm.
helps. So
Definitely. Oh, well,
cool.
Thank you so much for coming on and having this little chat with us. I obviously look forward to talking to you soon. So
Yes, I know. I miss you guys.
I know, I miss you too. I wish we got to see each other last weekend.
It'll come. 1 year.
It
One
will.
year tomorrow.
Oh, God, is that what it is? Oh, I love it. I will talk to you soon. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, one more thing. There's one last little thing here. When would be a good time for a guy to take an anti-estrogen? Last question to throw in.
When would be a good time for a guy to take an anti-estrogen? What is no? Ooh, that's a loaded last question, but a good one.
Yeah.
When would be a good time? Probably never. They get a very bad rap because anti-estrogens are given because when you take testosterone exogenously, estrogen levels will go up. The reason why dosage frequency is usually increased from the antiquated protocol of once a week or once every 10 days is because it allows your body to have more stable levels of testosterone and less spikes in testosterone and estrogen. Men need estrogen just like women need estrogen. Men who crash their estrogen can lose their erection, crush their joints, have completely sore joints, crush their libido, everything. So it's really the normal level for you. There's no, there was this range that they talked about where it's 20 to 30, and then any guy who went over 30, they were automatically prescribed an anti-estrogen when they literally had no symptoms whatsoever. If you are, if you get gynecomastia, then you are genetically predisposed to that, then you most likely will have to get a cosmetic surgery to resolve that, or it's a body fat level issue type of thing. And you can also look into other hormones, but you don't want to block estrogen. It is very cardioprotective for guys. They need it for their brain health. They need it for libido. They need it for immunity. So I would highly advise that you do not take it. And if you do take it for maybe you have a little water retention that you don't want to deal with, or like highly symptomatic, take like literally a fraction of the dosage that you're supposed to, like less than an eighth of a pill. I see it way overprescribed right now, and I would only take that a few times. And if you look at the studies they have in bone density in guys, because remember, anti-estrogens are created for women with breast cancer to stop the production of estrogen that was carcinogenic. So completely basically cuts it off. Even tamoxifen, it kind of turns it the other direction away from the receptors. So I forgot where I was going with that, but it's a drug for women with breast cancer. It's not for men to be taking. So the bone density issues are extremely high. And the studies where men who have taken long-term anti-estrogens or aromatase inhibitors, because they block the enzyme that converts cuts to estrogen, have decreased level of bone density on DEXA scans. And it's really scary. And that's why, like, for women who are in menopause, that they're so prone to osteoporosis because they've lost their estrogen and they need to go on hormone replacement. Mm-hmm. So no bueno. And you can DM me if you have some situation that you think might be different or whatever, but yeah.
Well, thank you. That was definitely a loaded last question.
Tony Genicore joined just at the end.
He's gonna have to go back and watch this later.
I know. We talked about boners and all the fun stuff.
I know. I'll post the link later and I'll send it to you too.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Love you guys. Have a great day. Bye.
Bye.